Hey Kurt, this is Guy Funaki. Let's go ahead and start up with this video lesson. So let's whip out the first sheet that I sent you, the concepts sheet. We're going to go with concept number 1. And you can see there's your raw progression, the D minor 7, G7, C major 7. So it's a 2, 5, 1, and C. And then we have the substitution underneath it. So there'll be 2 chords for the D minor, 2 chords for the G7, and 1 for the C. First of all, here's the concept. We're always going to start with the real chord. So D minor will be on beat 1 of D minor. Actually beats 1 and 2. And the G7 will also be on the first 2 beats of G7. So we always want to start with our raw chord progression. This is a general rule. It's not a hard and fast rule because we're going to start changing things around a little bit. But just to get the concept and kind of understanding this, we want to create or build color on the minor chord, and we want to build tension on the dominant 7th chord. So for the D minor, we're going to go to the F major 7, which builds color. And then for the G7, we'll go from G7 to F minor 7, which will build tension. And then we will release. And you'll see that the release from the G7 measure to the C, there's a half a step relationship from the F minor 7 to the E minor 7. So everything really resolves as a half a step. It's cool movement. So anyways, here's your real chord progression. With the bass line, you can hear it. Here's the substitution line. Check this out. So we're adding some color there. Movement, really. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. We have the D minor 7, straight up chord. When we move to F major 7, it's built on the 3rd of the D minor, or also its relative major. So now, when we have this relationship of thirds, it's just upper structure. So F, A, C, E is the flat 3, the 5, the flat 7, and the 9. So it goes from a D minor 7, technically, to a D minor 9, with that F major 7 chord. Then we go to the next measure, G7, your straight chord, straight mixolydian. Then we're going to alter that. We're going to use, as I was talking about, a parallel minor. It's the parallel minor of your relative major to the D. You can think of it that way, or you can think of as building a minor 7 chord on the flat 7 of your dominant chord that's at hand. So for G7, your dominant 7th is the F, so we'll build an F minor 7. There's a few ways you can think of this. Whatever works for you. And when you superimpose a F minor 7 over a G, you get a G7 flat 9, flat 13 sound. So lots of tension there. And that allows you to move that chord down a half a step to the E minor 7, which is just upper structure color on your C major chord. Now we have E, G, B, and D. And the C chord, so that's the 3rd, the 5, the 7, the 9. So, cool stuff. Back to that G7 chord, when we're doing an F minor 7, it's the F, A flat, C, E flat. So that's your flat 7, flat 9. Your C is a passing tone. It's not a great single note to hang on, but it works because it's within the chord structure. So we're going to call that a passing tone. And then your E flat is the flat 13. So I've got all that written down there. That's what the chord sounds equal as we're going through those chords. So let's try that again. I'll do the regular basic chord progression, then with the substitutions. And the chords I'm using, if you go to the chord sheet, the 2, 5, 1, it's the top row. It's the D minor 7, F major 7, G7, F minor 7, E minor 7. So we'll just use that one right away. So here's the real chord progression. Now with the sub. So it's nice. All right, let's take a look at number 2. And what I want to do is, let's look at it real quick in D. Now this is not written in D yet. You'll see the 251 chord sheets that I've given you, so you can transpose all those at your leisure so you can see what they are. But since I've got the bass line here in D, and let's see how it compares to the previous one we used. It's really one chord that we're going to change, and that's going to be our tension chord. So instead of the F minor 7, we're going to use a D flat 7 or a D flat 9, a straight up D flat Mixolydian chord instead of the F minor. All right, and this is called the tritone substitution. So we'll use D minor 7, F major 7, G7, now our tritone substitution, which will also resolve down a half a step to our C major 7. So we'll go right into our real one chord there. All right. Now the tritone substitution is kind of cool because what it's doing is it's substituting where the G would be as a tritone. If I have a G at the 3rd fret of the 6th string, I go over a string and up a fret. That's a very dissonant interval. Like the song YYZ from Rush. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But that's a tritone, that interval. It's kind of evil sounding or very dissonant. But when you build a dominant 7th, straight up dominant 7th chord on the tritone of your presumed 5 chord, it's called the tritone sub. So let's check out and see what that sounds like. So we're going to do D minor 7, F major 7, G7, tritone substitution. You may see either the D flat 7 or the D flat 9, either work. And then both will resolve down a half a step to the C major. So let's check it out over the chord progression. I'll play the real chord progression first, then the substitution. So here's your straight up 2-5-1. Now for the substitution. I'll do the D flat 9 this time. C major 9. Go. Now you can alter your chords as you want to. If you want to do C major 9 at the end, C major 13, C major 6-9, you can substitute those guys in, but stick with some of these substitutions I have here as the chords change. So again, the rule is it's not as hard and fast as as I'm going to say, but to start with, think basic chord building color on the minor chord, straight up dominant 7th on the 5 chord, and then add tension. So you want altered tones that can go to the 1 chord, and that's in a 2-5-1 situation. So all that works real good. Another way you can approach this is you can start taking chords out. If you just want to play, say, the substituted chords, we can do D minor 9 or the F major 7 chord, and then say the F minor 7 chord go into an E minor 7 chord. So I'm using the last 2 for the 2 and the 5, and then go into the 1. If I have this bass line going as a D, G7, C, we'll be superimposing an F major, F minor, E minor over that. So let's check that out. So we're taking the first 2 chords out, the D minor 7 and the G7. We're just not going to play those. And we'll play the F major 7, the full measure, F minor 7, the full measure, E minor 7, the full measure. Here's the real chord progression first. All right, big substitution here. Again, F major 7. So you're just kind of taking out some of the other chords. You can also do, say, F major 7 for a full measure, G7, F minor 7, and down. So I just took one of the chords out. always use the later of the chord as your last chord going into it. You don't want to take out your tension chords. So that's, kind of keep that smooth running. So those are the two examples. As you see on the sheet, number 2 is just written in the key of E flat. It's a 2-5-1 in the key of E flat. Let me run a bass line real quick in the key of E flat, and we'll check this out. And that's where the tritone sub comes in. That's kind of written in that way. So we'll see, we'll let you look at it exactly the way it's written here. So. So there's my 2-5-1 in E flat. And we have a F minor 7, A flat major 7, B flat 7, E9. So it works the same way. So let's check it out. First, the real chord progression. Sub. That's it. So there's your concepts, number 1 and number 2. All right. Now let's look at our chord sheet. Let's take a look at some of these voicings we can deal with. The first one we've done already, the D minor 7 to the F major 7, G7, F minor 7, E minor 7. And that's a good one for your positioning root on the 5th string, 5th fret, so in the lower position for that. Let's use the same chord progression, but we'll use the upper part of the neck. So the second one, you have D minor 7, F major 7, G9, F minor 7, down to E minor 7. And you can always replace that E minor 7 with the C major 7. That's kind of a cool deal there. So let's try that again. Got the chord progression in the key of E flat. Let's put it back into D. There it is. So back up here. In the C major 7 instead of the E minor 7, so feel free to do either way. The third one down, D minor 7, F major 7, G13, D flat 9, so now we're putting in the tritone sub on the lower position, and then a C major 13. That's kind of a cool chord. Now the voice leading is real neat there. Check it out. We have D minor 7, F major 7, all that's cool. G13, straight up Mixolydian chord. It's got color, but it's not altered yet. Now, D flat 9, kind of in our comping voicing. There's the rhythm voicing. There's the comping voicing. Difference between rhythm voicings and comping voicings is the rhythm is a fuller chord, usually with the roots in the bottom. Comping is usually the higher, wispier, less notes, just color. There's no D flat even in that chord. Our bass player has got that. And then resolving to the, notice from the G13, D flat 9, got a kind of a chromatic line with our chords. So those voices are really cool. Let's see what this thing sounds like. So that's a nice one. Let's go to the last one, number 4, D minor 11. So we're going to use the upper part of the neck. I'm using a lot of color here. So we got D minor 11, F major 9, G9, D flat 13, C major 7. So let's see what this thing sounds like. First, the real chord progression. Cool, once again. So, those are the four set of chord changes. I'm sure you know a plethora of different chords. You can start substituting those guys in there. That's all going to work great. But notice it's root on the 5th string, 5th fret kind of area, and then root on the 6th string. If you have chord progressions that work in 2 areas of the neck, usually where your roots are on the 5th and on the 6th, you're already guaranteed you're going to be in 2 different spots of the neck. And that's a great way to work out some 2-5-1s. All right, so there's your chord progressions. Let's look at these sheets here. It's got the chord progression. There's 2 12 stave. Which one is this one? Let's go to this one first. This one we talked about. It's all the 2-5-1 chord progressions in every key. The break-off point from flat to sharp is from the key of G flat major down to the key of B major. So G is your last flat, this is your sharp key. And practicing these chord progressions in the circle of fifths is a great way to go. So if you look at your 1 chord, it's actually a back cycle of fifths. It's a progression of fourths going frontwards. Going around the circle of fifths counterclockwise. And I'm going to show you. When I say that, all my students laugh because I do have a clock that is circle of fifths clock. So we're going around this way, counterclockwise. Please excuse my cobwebs. So you can fill in, I've got the first one filled in for you. The next one's G minor, C7, F. Go ahead in the spaces below, fill out what the chord progression is. It's good practice if that's your homework. If I'm giving you homework, that's it. So you'll go through all 12 keys there. And then the other one has the tritone sub in it. So it's the D minor, F major, 7, G7, D flat 7 or D flat 9 to the C major. So you can practice all 12 keys with those 2 substitutions there. All right, so let's check out these bass lines. We've got 4 of them there. And they're just variations of one to the other. They're ascending and descending. Some are just descending. So let's take a look at what's going on. The concept with a bass line is on beat 1, root. Beat 4 of that measure, a half a step approach to whatever the next chord is. Or scale tone if you're in the same key. Kind of works that way. Basic concept. You might take a look at these and say, oh, well, some of these don't even really follow that. These are preconceived lines. These aren't anything real tricky, but you'll start to be able to build your own with that concept. You see most of these follow that rule. So here we have D minor 9, and watch the chord fingerings as well with the chord grips, because this chord, what I'm going to do is present the chord on beat 1, walk 3 bass lines, chord on the beat 1, and walk 3 bass lines. So in other words, here's the chord, here's your bass line, chord, bass line. Again. All right, let's look at number 2. D minor. There's a little, just a variation. Half step approach, half a step. minor 9, G13, C major 9 because of that fingering. Let's look at number 3, D minor 7. So there's 2 ascending lines, and now we're up here on the fingerboard. Again, grouping these things so you at least have 2 ideas here for bass line, 2 ideas in this area for each key. So here's your D minor 7, next string over, chromatic, next string over, chromatic, down to the C major. Let's look at number 4. Here we have kind of a higher version. So here's our D minor. You can do D minor, straight up D minor, or D minor 7 by grabbing the C, and that's why I have it written on the chart. There's for more of a comping thing, or starting a high bass line and descending down is kind of a cool thing. Ooh. Okay, let's see if I can connect all 4 of these together. Okay, so there it is. All right, Kurt, hope you enjoyed that lesson. Don't hesitate to contact me if there was anything that wasn't clear. And always remember to keep in tune and keep tuning in.